Our outsourced research is definitely on its way out. Winter is most certainly coming, and we really need to think and talk about where the first dome in this Martian colony is going to be. Hey there, Legion, it's Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more Surviving Mars Green Planet in our brand new Red Winter series. So, seriously, let's pause for a moment and take a look at the map view, because even if you have played Surviving Mars before, especially if you haven't, given that a number of you might be watching right now that aren't as familiar with the game. As a matter of fact, I know many of you are watching right now that aren't as familiar with the game. We need to talk about why we have a bit of a dome placement predicament at the moment. So when you bring your first colonists down into the first dome that you build, you have a limited number of colonists, and their purpose is to be the founders of the colony. So a certain amount of time needs to pass, or a Martian baby needs to be born among those first colonists in order for the people on Earth to be satisfied that it's worth sending more people to Mars. Otherwise, you can't bring down additional colonists. Even once you reach that point where you can send additional colonists, the rate at which applicants come in is limited. And depending on how picky you are, you may or may not be able to have as many people as you want when you need them in order for resources to continue to flow healthily. So, what are the things that you need to consider about where you place your first dome? Because obviously we're playing in a high difficulty playthrough. What are some of the challenges that we're going to face? You need to have your first dome ideally near both metals and rare metals. Now, the good news is we know where those resources are on the map. Now, a single dome is not going to, unfortunately, be able to reach both of these. So what we're going to have to do is have a dome, and it's going to have to be a heated dome. It might even be a dome over here by these underground metals. Ideally, though, we need to go ahead and get a dome by the underground rare metals here. But what we would do is we would put a dome by both of these resources. Having metals as the most basic resource for pretty much everything allows you to set up a supply chain, particularly to create machine parts, because these require metal to create. So having a steady supply of metal is kind of the foundation. Metal and concrete is kind of the foundation to a successful colony. But as I mentioned in episode 1, if you are not producing rare metals, if you're not mining these with colonists, which you have to have until late in the game when there are some other means to get rare metals, then, unfortunately, you're not making any money. Remember from episode 1 that that's how you make money. It's the rare metals have a different price depending on which sponsor you play as. So we could put our first dome, as I mentioned last episode, over in this area, but the only purpose that would serve would be kind of just a little gestation egg for the founders of the colony. Those people wouldn't be able to go out and make the colony any money. They wouldn't be able to mine. So I think ultimately what we're going to have to do is probably build a tunnel underneath this thing to where, and thinking of a tunnel this early is like unnerving. Because look at the resources required to make a tunnel. 80 concrete's not that bad. We have plenty of concrete laying around, but 30 machine parts. And by the way, we already have less than $1 billion left of our initial funding. We can get more. There are some means to get more in the early game, but these are precarious decisions, to be sure. And then the 20 metal. The 20 metal is not that big of a deal. But I really do think that optimally, we're going to need to have our first colonists over here by this rare metal deposit. And then we can expand to where we can get metal from these deposits. One of the other reasons that that's kind of a good place to consider is, and if I remember correctly, let me check something here. Okay, yeah. So you can see, depending on where we put the dome footprint, if you read the tooltips over here, that you can tell where a cold area will be. So we know if the dome will be affected by being in a cold region, depending on where we put it. And we're going to have to work with that when we are over here, because this is where our initial resources are, and we need to exploit those rare metals as soon as possible so that our colony has income. So a little bit frustrating because we have these landing pads over here that are really just for supplies, and this is going to end up being, this is very common in Surviving Mars. You have kind of a region of the colony that is devoted to where the colonists live, and you have a region of the colony that's devoted to infrastructure and resources and, you know, getting far away water deposits and concrete deposits and such. So it's not the end of the world, but I really think that the best thing to do is going to be to go ahead and gun for that rare metal deposit. So with that in mind, we have got to order a lot more machine parts. I think I will be okay concrete and metals wise. I'm going to trust that we will continue to find metal that I can pick up with our sea transport the way that I've already been doing. It's currently on a transport route, in fact. So we can survive without mining metal from under the Martian crust. And as a matter of fact, I'm still excited about that whole area because there's a lot going on there. We'll be able to get a lot of metal, and it will have established some colonists in that area. So with that in mind, let's go ahead, and I'm not going to unpause just yet because I want to lay down the infrastructure for this. Oh, this rocket is ready to launch. We'll go ahead and give that order. And let's go ahead and look into a cargo rocket. Now, we could do a supply pod, but those actually cost additional money. So you can talk to me in the comments about why a supply pod might be superior to a rocket right now, but I feel like our fuel production is great. It doesn't cost me a lot of fuel to relaunch a rocket right now. So I think what I'd prefer to do, I love, by the way, that they finally show you the resources you have in the colony. It didn't used to be this way. But, all right, so I could send down the machine parts, just the machine parts that I need for the tunnel. That's one way of doing it. I can send down a few extra just to make sure that I have what I need. This is getting a little bit overboard. Do I need to order additional electronics right now, or is that overkill? I'll probably not do that. But the additional machine parts, I want to make sure I have. Yeah, let's go with 35. And I will go with 15 polymers, because polymers are another early resource that it's important to have a stockpile of. It's one of the things that's earlier. Of the 3 advanced resources, it's probably the easiest to produce, especially with your founding colonists. But still, I want to make sure I have a little bit of a buffer. So is there anything else that I can order? See, I don't want to use too much of my funding, so this cargo rocket is nowhere near full. Matter of fact, I could put down another drone hub, which I actually need to do if I'm going to make this work. Let's think. I need at least 1 other drone hub at the moment, potentially 2. I've got what I need to get a tunnel over in the other direction, and then we would need a drone hub on the far side. The question is, what else would I need in addition to that? Another moisture evaporator? No, we've already got an extra prefab that we can build for that. Maybe a small machine parts factory is in order. We've already ordered a polymer factory. If we have the small machine parts factory in place, that would allow us to produce a few machine parts to help keep the colony going, even though it's going to spend some more of my funding. Let's go ahead and go with that. I could also order a few additional drones if I wanted to, but funding-wise, I don't know if I can justify that. I think I'm going to leave that be, especially since I'm about to build another drone hub, and that'll give me some drones. So, plus I have my RC commander that can help move stuff around. So let's go ahead and launch that rocket. That's Dragon number 1. We're going to go to speed 2. And our rockets, I've forgotten the name of that one, but it is launching. That might be Dragon number 2, or Phoenix number 1, perhaps. We have a total of how many rockets? 5 as Space Y. And you can build more. You totally can. It just requires a lot of money. 3 billion, to be precise. Okay, so let's go ahead and give the order for this tunnel. No time to waste. All right, so it's saying it's too far from a working drone commander. That's okay. What's the exact range? Okay, so we're going to put you over here. Let's see. I really like the idea of having it line up like so. There we go. All right, so I've put you over there. Yes, I know that overlaps a deposit. So one of the reasons this is handy is this allows us to spread our power grid, notice those connections, far away without building a bunch of additional infrastructure. So this is the way to get over quickly to where we need to be. I don't normally build tunnels this early in the game, but we need those rare metals ASAP. So the question is, where's our dome going to be? Dome probably needs to be over here, so it's closer to additional domes we end up building for the metal. So why don't we set up the tunnel exit? Weirdly, see, the tunnel starts here, so I don't even want to imagine the shape of this tunnel, but let's put that there. Okay, now what else can I throw down? I think it's time to go ahead and also consider, before I unpause here, a couple of additional things. Let's get another vaporator going, not too far away from the first one. Yeah, we'll put you right there. And then now that those are running, a couple of things we need to do. I'm going to put down a water pipe, or a water tower, excuse me. I can't quite do it there. I'd rather have it on this side. Now, you might be wondering, Hadrian, why are you putting it where you're putting it? The reason is that we are going to have a subsurface heater momentarily. Matter of fact, let's place that first. Right there. And that's going to help keep the water cool. Or rather, the water warm. We do want cool water. We don't necessarily want scalding water, but we also don't want the water to freeze. So those are going to be in place. And for the most part, the subsurface heater is going to remain off until I need it. Notice it's requiring 5 machine parts and 15 metals to build. So that's going to eat away at some of the machine parts that I already have ready to go. I think because we're waiting on an additional rocket, I'm not going to put the tunnel on high priority mode. We'll just let the existing drones do their thing. Now, one thing I could do, just to make sure this goes super quickly, is I could bring the RC commander over here. So one of the things that I can do once those additional drone hubs are here, we have one more drone hub on the way, is I can throw the drone hub down and I'll have a bunch of drones in this area working to bring resources through. The only key after that point is getting the resources that I need over to this location. Getting drones to work with tunnels and bring resources through can be a bit finicky in Surviving Mars, so we're going to have to micromanage it a little bit. Once you have shuttles that can fly around and drop stuff off, it's beautiful. They just drop things where they're needed, and it's a lot more efficient. But while it's just these guys, just these little scurriers running around, it's a little bit more problematic. Oh no. Rocket short circuit. The whole board flares up in red warning signs. Emergency rocket launch initiated. Quick troubleshooting reveals that a short circuit has completely fried, or rocket launch abort initiated, has completely fried the board computer, leaving the rocket in a damaged state. You quickly notify the sponsor of the potentially disastrous consequences of the failed rocket launch. Luckily, they lose no time in greenlighting 5 free supply pods and $500 million in funding to help the mission through the situation. Holy crap. That's actually a very good thing. So we got some free funding and free supply pods. Well, with that in mind, I think I want more new drones. We just got free money, so we're going to use that. Is there anything more than drones that I need? I've already ordered additional supplies. An additional drone hub? No, I don't think so. Not yet. Let's go ahead and just order 8 more drones. Having more drones this early in a series this difficult will come in handy. So this supply pod is on its way down. Notice we have a power deficit. Research cooperation. Your attention is required. Lambda Industries Deep Space Telescope is performing as planned. What isn't performing as well is the data analysis. The amount of information the telescope is sending towards Earth is mind-boggling, and they have issues processing all of it. Lambda Industries is officially extending a request for help with some of the data analysis. Research the Analyze Space Telescope data tech to continue. Okay, let's take a quick look at that. All right, so we have this tech here. what would happen if we did that? And yes, I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, one of the other things that's happened is we no longer have our additional research points per sol from our sponsor because 5 days have gone by. So that's also slightly problematic, to put it lightly. Tell you what, let's put it second on the list. I'm kind of curious what would happen if we did that. We have wow, look how far down this chain we already are. Somehow we've just gotten a bunch more. I know exactly how. If you go back and watch the first few episodes, you know how it happened, but it's mind-blowing to see us so far down the physics chain in terms of our options there. Okay, so you can see the first resources being brought here. Yeah, we have a drone heavy load. That's why we ordered more drones. Let's go ahead and go up to speed 3. Yes, by the way, this is real time. This is things happening without any speed up. Things can get pretty leisurely in surviving Mars. Makes it nice for like recording motion shots during like opening commentary. I'll say that. That's appreciated, but it can be problematic for sure. Also, really quickly, let's go ahead and build a second landing pad there. We'll also need to get a trading pad built so that we can trade stuff with our neighboring colonies. Okay, so let's see what happens. All right, we are gaining power there. We found an anomaly here, and it's a breakthrough anomaly. Also, it appears our transport needs something to do. So let's give him something to do, shall we? 34 metals over here. Why don't you work on those first? Gather metals, bring them back. So I haven't explained what I'm doing with this yet, but hopefully it's pretty clear. You can just give this transport an area in which to work, and they'll gather every resource of the type that you designate. See, now it's not spewing water. Interesting. I knew I wasn't seeing things last episode. But yeah, it'll take all the resources of a given type that you designate out of the area that you assign it to. All right, so this thing's about to land with 8 more drones. Let's go ahead and just have it plop down at the tip of the landing pad here. Meanwhile, we have our additional drone hub ready to go. So these guys are going to land together. And then the rocket's going to fry all of my new drones. Great. Oh, man. All right, let's go ahead and salvage that. That'll give us 5 metal. Now we have a new drone hub as a result. Let's go ahead and throw it down. See, this is the thing. I might be able to, I'll have to find out if it's possible. I might be able to put a resource hub here and drones can come through the tunnel and grab stuff from that resource hub. But in my experience, it's all about these borders. Drones don't really, that I've seen in the past, unless it was part of the last update or unless I just missed it in a previous update, drones don't work. Even though it makes perfect sense that drones should be able to just hop through this tunnel and let that be, the distance. Just no distance between these 2 points. Ultimately, you need resources that you're trying to move from depot to depot, like, for instance, this one or this one. You need those to be in range of the hexagon you're seeing on the screen right now, the giant hexagon. So, all right, let's go ahead and get a new drone hub built out here. Actually, I would like it to be able to service the whole area. If possible. Why is it saying too far from working drone commander? Oh, because it needs to be built by drones, of course. Remember, my drone hubs don't need power or maintenance, so that text was throwing me off for a second. I think I will just put it right here. And there goes the prefab. Boom. Okay, so with that done, that's a pretty big deal. We just need to get the machine parts in place to have this tunnel up and running. And then we'll see how they do with moving resources from spot to spot. I can build an experimental universal depot to test that functionality. I'm not optimistic, but I'm open to being pleasantly surprised. Let's put it that way. Okay, so now we have to keep an eye on how many machine parts are currently in the queue for the tunnel. This is how many we have in the colony period. Good. The low-G high-rise tech has finished, so that means we can build apartments in our very first dome. It's not something you can always do in Surviving Mars, but we can do it. So that's handy. All right, Dragon number 1 is in the process of being refueled. Anomaly has been analyzed. We've just found Beagle 2, or what's left of it. Over the years, over 2/3 of the missions sent to Mars ended in disaster, the tragic course of events attributed to bad luck, human error, or simply to the inevitability of shooting blind in the dark had created a dark humor revolving around the great galactic ghoul, which feeds on exploration probes and the mystery of the Martian Triangle. One of the best equipped probe missions to Mars was Beagle 2, which failed dramatically in the last minutes before landing. Failed by the parachutes and the treacherous Martian atmosphere, the brave little probe crashed at fatally high speed against the red desert. So this reduces the cost of robotics techs by 10%. Begin analysis of the crash site. Nice. So we've had a couple of nice boosts. We have a physics cost reduction and a robotics cost reduction now. Not too shabby. Sol 10 is about to begin. We are 10 days in on Mars. All right, once again, the RC transport has nothing to do. Let's go ahead and make sure that does not continue to be the case. In this case, I don't need to use the transport route, but I'm going to anyway. Actually, I do, because there's a limited amount of space to carry metals. So it's going to go to that one deposit, which is why I was thinking I wouldn't need to use the transport route. But then it's going to need to go back to it. Okay, new planetary anomalies have been found. So we also completed a goal, which gave us 15 drone prefabs. So that's additional drones that we can throw down. That's really, really nice. Holy crap. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put down... We're going to have 20 drones there. $10 drones here. I'll keep it at 8 there. But then out here, we'll take a look at the planetary anomalies in just a second. I'm kind of upset that I ordered those additional drones now. So which goal did we complete? Rocket short circuit. Okay, dang it. Have a lot going on at the moment. Let's have 12 drones out here, and we still have 5 prefabs. I'll decide what to do with those in a moment. Rocket Phoenix number 2 has safely landed on Earth. The replacement of all onboard electronics has resolved the issue. In fact, we learned a lot about our rockets during the repairs, and a full review of the design has found several possible improvements to future designs that can reduce our production costs. Rocket cost has decreased by 25%. Lots of positive events so far. All right, new planetary anomalies. We have Project Savannah, which requires engineers. We don't have any crew yet. All right, this is a 12-hour tech that would just require me to send the RC Explorer, and we would get a breakthrough. All we have to do is send a rocket in that general direction. Might be doing that. And then, of course, we have the SETI satellite, which grants funding. This is a way to get additional funding, but notice also it requires a lot of electronics and metal. Metal, again, or electronics is kind of the holy grail of the advanced resources, so it's going to be a second before we can really do anything about that. Let's get this tunnel ready to go. Tell you what, we'll send Dragon number 1 back to Earth. Resources low, huh? All right, so apparently I'm consuming a bit more power lately. Why don't I go ahead and build one more wind turbine, just to make sure that we stay above the mark. How about that? So I think I know where our first dome is going to go. Almost exactly. We just need that tunnel finished, and it is right around the corner from being done. You can see the concrete pouring in now. We still have plenty of extra. The last machine part's in place. Great. Another thing that I can do to help speed things up a bit, because you can see there's a lot of drones waiting to recharge right now. I need to build a few additional recharge stations. Let's see, why don't we do them here and here? And we can do a few more as well. just to be generous. They only cost... Game, what are you doing? Thank you. 1 metal. They're not exactly expensive to build, and it allows us a lot more efficiency when drones have to come back here and recharge at the hubs. Tell you what, let's go ahead and have them. I'm going to control click so that all of those recharge stations that I just queued up are now a top priority, so they'll get those built ASAP. All right, that's been built already. Let's go ahead and build the polymer blades as well. So now we are bringing in a little bit more power per soul. Again, I'm trying to be as conservative as possible with my power, because that's something that can get out of control really quickly. If you get ambitious and start building too much of a power grid, these buildings require maintenance. That'll chew up your machine parts like you would not believe. So you have to kind of build power as you need it, especially on high difficulty. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Speaking of things that aren't required, why does this keep happening? There we go. So whenever there's a drone nearby, when you're trying to select something in the current version of the game, that happens. See, because that drone's right there, I'm trying to click this thing, and it keeps... That's weird. Okay. So we're going to reduce the surface area to just those tiles, first of all, which is going to affect its power consumption a good bit. But I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off. The only thing I'm going to do is set this to high priority so that when I need to turn it on, if it needs to be repaired, which will cost metal, they can do that really quickly and it will be ready to go. This thing's going to save me during cold snaps. Matter of fact, that thing having a wider range is part of the reason our power deficit is what it was. But I still wanted to get that extra wind turbine built regardless. Okay, so the tunnel is up. Let's experiment here. Okay, actually I've already experimented because you can tell this isn't working. Hang on. Yeah, see what's happening? I can't... Oh, man. I don't recall that being an issue prior to this update, but I'm just trying to click on that building and it keeps selecting the drones. Okay. Sorry, just a random annoyance with that particular mechanic. Okay, so the question is, if I were to build a depot here, would that give them a place? We're experimenting with what I was mentioning earlier. Let's see. That's in range. Okay, so now they're bringing stuff to this depot, but the question is, once stuff is at that depot, will these drones come to life and go through and grab stuff? No, they won't. You see what's happening? Even though it's right on the other side of the tunnel, these drones aren't going to get stuff. So in the next episode, what we're going to have to figure out, and it's not difficult to do, we just have to use the RC transport very smartly. And also, we're probably going to... I should have used that last rocket for that. Was it Project Savannah? Yeah, Project Niagara. That's an additional breakthrough. You never know when those could be helpful. We've already had so many helpful things occur. It's hard to imagine more helpful things occurring. But what we're going to have to do is use our RC transport to bring over some of the basic resources we need to get the colony built over here. And then ultimately what I can do is bring down a drone hub to bridge the gap between these hubs. So hang on, let's take a look here. Oh my gosh, that's really frustrating. Stop it. Stop it. Thank you. That is really frustrating. Okay, so let's see. We can't see exactly where this one ends. As a matter of fact, yeah, we might need 2 additional drone hubs, and we'll have to bring stuff around, looks like this way. We've got the money for it. I'm not thrilled about it, but we're going to have to do it that way in order to establish kind of a supply chain. But that works actually because we have this concrete deposit here to work with. So yeah, next episode, we're going to work out that exact issue. And then we're probably going to get that by the end of the next one. We're probably going to have the first dome down, maybe even our first colonists on the way. I don't want to get too ambitious, but I think that's right around the corner. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. New episodes are coming out every day at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.